reason this bill is so important is that 50 years after passage of the Federal Voting Rights Act, a bill that people fought and died for, Congress has not been able to restore it after it has been gutted by the United States Supreme Court. Two vital sections, Section 2 and Section 5, are no longer available. And the filibuster in Congress, in the U.S. Senate, is preventing the right to vote from being protected on a federal level. Well, states can't wait. And as Secretary Merrill mentioned, states are acting. States like Virginia and California have passed state-level voting rights acts to protect the right to vote on the local level. And Connecticut will join them, not with a similar law, but with the strongest voting rights law in the country. Senate Bill 471 will do that. I've been the lead sponsor of it for the last couple of years. I want to talk a little bit about the bill and what it hopes to do. But I also want to give my thanks to the legislators who are here with us today. We've got a lot of House members and some of my Senate colleagues, and I specifically want to thank Senator May Flexer and Representative Dan Fox, the chairs of the GAE committee, for making this a key legislative priority in the 2 weeks we have left to go in the legislative session. There is no right more fundamental in a democracy than the right to vote. It's something that I don't take for granted. My mom grew up in a dictatorship in Latin America. Her mom was a refugee who escaped the Holocaust. But also in this country, we've always had more work to do, because there are people not just in Alabama and Georgia and Texas who don't have the right to vote, but when people face long lines and run out of ballots and have other issues accessing the ballot in Connecticut, we have more work right here. And that will only happen when we have a Connecticut Voting Rights Act. A couple of key things that this bill will do. It will provide additional support for people who speak languages other than English. There are lots of folks who are going to be figuring out what that early voting referendum means on the ballot this November. And if you don't speak English, you need to have materials available in your language, whether it's Spanish or Portuguese or another language. We are a nation of immigrants, and we should have voting materials in those languages. Second, if somebody deprives you of the right to vote, there should be a remedy. And right now, the only hope is to go to the police and see if there can be criminal charges. This would open up our state courts, so you can bring an action against folks who are depriving you of the right to vote. And it gives towns an opportunity to cure violations. If there is a specific issue where somebody is denying on the local level, is not doing their job, you can provide notice to a town and an opportunity to fix it out of court. But if it then isn't fixed, then we allow our state courts to be a place where we can receive a remedy. And the last thing is local redistricting. Right now, towns across the state are redrawing lines. In one of my communities, that affected 90% of the people in town would have lost their polling place based on a local proposal. We need rules of the road to make sure that every vote counts, that people are not being adversely affected by local redistricting, and that I think is really important. And as Secretary Merrill mentioned, there are some towns that are repeat offenders, that have gotten into trouble, and making sure that we have a pre-clearance requirement like we had on the federal level for almost 50 years is really important. This is a huge priority going forward for the next 2 weeks, and I'm hopeful that members of both parties will support this going forward. We'll get support in both caucuses. There is a great coalition, a grassroots coalition of advocates from around the state, including some of our national partners as well who are here. And I'm just hopeful we can get this over the finish line. Thank you very much, and I'm glad to be with all of us.